The story of fast travel games is essentially the story of VR itself. They came out of the gate fist swinging with Apex Construct, one of VR's earliest and best single-player adventures, solidifying themselves as a force to be reckoned with in the VR space. But if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might know how horribly disappointed I was with their next big adventure, a World of Darkness game called Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. It made me wonder if fast travel games just wasn't able to evolve or keep up with the rapidly changing VR landscape, or maybe they were just content to play it safe. So I certainly had a lot of questions leading up to their next World of Darkness title, Vampire The Masquerade Justice, and after playing it this week, I got all the answers I was looking for. Vampire The Masquerade Justice tells the story of Justice, who's a vampire out for revenge. Told through conversations with NPCs and a few non-interactive cutscenes, it's mostly forgettable, and I found myself frequently tuning out during the longer narrative sections, which caused me not to care much when presented with options on how to respond in conversations. Luckily, they always managed to pull me back in with a few key moments, making the whole trip worthwhile. I doubt many people are going to walk away from Vampire thinking about the story though, because what this game does far better than I expected was to make you feel like an actual vampire, and that comes completely from the gameplay itself. The character Justice is a more than capable vampire, even in Chapter 1, allowing you to traverse Venice with ease. And that's fortunate because, well, people don't like vampires, apparently. So being stealthy, hiding in shadows, using blink movement, and traveling along the highest cornices are the only surefire ways to get to your goal. Now, I like stealth games, but I'm not terribly patient, meaning that I start most levels being super sneaky and then ended them with pools of blood and bodies everywhere. Justice rewards you for finishing each level without being noticed, so if you're more patient than me, you can level up faster. As you progress, you'll be able to unlock more and more skills, upping your moveset and changing the way you play in later levels. Eventually, you'll be able to cloak yourself and become invisible, fire mini crossbows from your wrist, unlock different types of arrows, and find all sorts of new ways to take down your opponents. But you'll always need to strike a balance between using these abilities and satisfying your thirst. When your meter's depleted, you'll have to find the victim and suck their blood. This is a cool little mechanic that feels silly to do, but if you're willing to get into character, it can also feel pretty awesome. Grabbing the victim and getting close to their neck is oddly fun, and violently shoving their body into the air or into nearby waterways makes the whole transaction feel pretty satisfying. Sadly, the two boss encounters felt really shoehorned by comparison. They seemed really out of place, but in retrospect, I'm glad they were there to mix things up a bit. Your hub area allows you to replay missions with your new powers, level up your character, play some secret missions, or head out and progress the story. It feels a little strange that load screens separate this area from the levels themselves, and with the SSD loading so fast you won't even have time to read the hints that they put on screen. And you will find yourself frequently retreading the same ground getting to your new objective. In fact, when all is said and done, you only end up seeing a handful of unique locations. And while the gameplay is undeniably fun, certain puzzles felt overused, and it felt like half of what I was doing in this game was just searching for a key to open the next door. And yeah, there's a few bugs here and there, but luckily before launch, Fast Travel issued a 4 gig update that fixed a ton of the problems I was having. And because of that, I ended up going back and replaying some of the previous levels and found them to be a lot more enjoyable. Taking my time, exploring each area, finding all the hidden collectibles, the small fixes made a huge change. It really made me want to start spending more time in each level. It's not completely bug-free as I encountered a strange audio issue post-patch. That required me to restart the game to get rid of, but I think it's a fairly polished game overall now, with some nice haptics in both the controllers and the headset, adaptive trigger support, a decent resolution, and although the devs are saying that it runs at a native 120, there's a stutter here that I swear has to be reprojection, so if you are susceptible to these kind of things, then it's something you're probably going to notice. I'm sure you've noticed by now how choppy the frame rate looks on the social screen, but don't worry, just like Propagation and Retribution before it, that's not how it looks in the headset. In the end, Vampire The Masquerade took some huge risks that certainly paid off. It took me about 10 hours to complete the campaign, and that doesn't include getting all the collectibles or beating the extra secret missions, all of which could easily add another 5 hours to the game clock. I do wish the story held my attention more, but playing through the game, unlocking powers, and being stealthy actually made me feel like a vampire. And compared to Apex Construct and Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, Justice is a massive step forward for the studio, delivering what I'd consider the best stealth game I've ever played in VR.